Hi, this is Peter,
Hi, this is Sandra,
and we are medievalist.net.
and today we're bringing you Game of Thrones Episode 7.
You win or you die.
Apparently.
And it was, I think, probably the best episode I've seen so far of the seven, and there's a lot to talk about. Where should we start?
We'll start with Peter Baelish, Littlefinger.
Yes. We get to kind of see a lot more of his character come out. We get a very explicit scene of as he's watching two of his prostitutes.
Who's
Whores, for a better word, practice on each other. so, this is probably the most explicit scene of the whole series, and
sorry.
And I guess a lot of people like it. So, but we learn a lot more about his character, which and it really, I think, it explains kind of what happens at the end. So, but that's certainly kind of one kind of really interesting scene that stuck out.
Also, a very interesting scene at the very beginning with Jaime and his father, Tywin Lannister. And he basically tells Jaime to, man up and screw honor and forget all that stuff because the important thing is keeping the family name in good standing because when everybody dies, all that you have left is your reputation because that's what's going to not just precede you, but live on when you're gone. So he kind of wants him to do away with all these notions of, honor. Why didn't he kill Ned when he was down? And Jaime didn't want to do it because he wanted a clean fight. And Tywin's just kind of like, that's irrelevant. You should have killed him, been a Lannister, and stop worrying about what other people think because he has this great line. It's, a lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of sheep. Good point, and I really enjoyed that. So I thought that was it was a very brief, but a very poignant moment.
Yeah, it's good. I liked how they kind of set up the characters and gave them, especially this Tywin, kind of like this is a person we really haven't seen anything from. He looks like he's going to be an interesting character. The actor, I don't know his name. Maybe our viewers can just fill it in on us, but I think he's played lots of great villainous characters before. So.
Then also we want to talk about Ned.
Okay, well, I guess the main thrust of the story is Ned has learned that none of Robert's children are his own; they're Jaime's, and he's going to tell Robert this when
he confronts Cersei in the garden, and she's like, "Yeah, so what about it?" And they both threaten each other. And he basically is like, you got to get out of Dodge or I'm going to tell on you.
Yeah, like Ned is trying to be very honorable and he's trying not to shed blood. Everything, it seems he's about to tell Robert, and then we find out Robert has
been speared.
Yeah, mortally wounded by a boar, and he's about to die.
Which infection.
Which is a real, wow, he just dies out of nowhere. So
that's usually how it happens.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Like, it was that was the first big surprise I think of this episode was that Robert's going to die, and not by anyone's hand but a boar's tusk. So. I guess.
Yeah, he got loaded and went hunting, which is always, it's like drinking and driving, but back in medieval times, or fantasy times, I should say, because it's really not a medieval period. Back in, fantasy times, they didn't drink and drive. They, drank and went boar hunting. So he's basically paying for that. Renly tries to get Ned to name him instead of their brother Stannis as king, and Ned's just like, no, there's a... what's the word I'm looking for? A hierarchy here, a kind of food chain we have to go through. You're, a zebra, and your brother's like up here, so you got to just kind of follow the food chain. And that's basically,
I think it. We see this in this episode constantly. Everyone is telling Ned, he has the power to. Really affect change and bring in the person he really wants. Renly wants it to make himself king. Others suggest he almost take the throne for himself. So
Renly's the only smart person, in my opinion. He left. I mean, had I known, as the second Robert was speared, had I been Ned, I would have just packed up Sansa, Arya, and left, and then come back with like all my northern wintry, dreary guys and whatever. Not this. Let's stay around, be honorable, because really,
Ned's. This is the kind of show of it's a show of Ned's foolishness.
I don't think he's foolish, but he's like
he's honorable to a fault here.
Yeah, he's like some kind of a Dungeons and Dragons paladin.
Yeah,
he's like lawful good. He's
good.
Like lawful good, and it's ridiculous. And it's like no matter what, he has to stay in his alignment. Which is crazy. Sorry for the nerdy aside.
Thank you for the D&D.
Sorry.
And
and the fact that you totally understood me is so stop laughing.
I was always the thief.
Anyhow, so I was always an elf and I was always a mage. Anyways, moving right along. Renly tells him to strike too.
Renly tells him to strike. Littlefinger tells him to strike. In the end, like Ned, he doesn't go through. He wants to go through kind of this proper channels. He doesn't realize. He doesn't realize until the very end of this episode where
Ned is the fantasy version of bureaucratic red tape.
Yeah,
he is the government.
So in the end, he goes to Robert dies. Joffrey goes and sits on the throne. Ned is going to have him seized. He
brings out a piece of paper, which Cersei rips up because I knew she would. Like, what's a piece of paper going to do for you, Ned? Seriously? Like,
Ned thinks he has the city guard behind him, but in the end, he's betrayed. The city guard killed off the remaining of his men, and Littlefinger.
It's like, hey, I told you shouldn't have trusted me.
That was and we. The scene,
why trust the guy who's in love with your wife, right?
Yeah.
That's always a good thing to do.
And it really puts into context, why Littlefinger was saying all that stuff earlier in the episode about how he was going to deal with his enemies and his kind of point of view. So we realize he is now into the betrayal to everyone betrays, basically Ned.
It's all backstabbing. So that's Ned's part. And then now Jon, I just want to talk about Jon. Jon's at the wall. His uncle's horse comes back riderless. We know bad things are afoot north of the wall. We find out the wildlings, via a conversation Theon had with the wildling they captured, want to get as far south because there are White Walkers, and now they're confirming this. And, it doesn't look too good for Benjen Stark. Looks like something got him out there up north. And then the boys decide they're going to take their vows, and Jon's kind of pissed off because he gets named to be a steward, which isn't as nice as it sounds. It's basically a chambermaid. And he's ticked because he wanted to be a ranger because he's a good fighter. And then basically he, Sam tells him, hey man, this isn't so bad. They're grooming you. It's kind of like, like corporate succession planning.
Yes.
They're grooming him to be like a head of the Night's Watch. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting perspective that Sam put there. And then
that convinces Jon to stay.
So Jon stays. They take their vows, and the last thing you see is Jon's direwolf comes out of the forest with an arm. That's always took your vows. You're there for life. And the first thing you see after you get up off your knees and everything is an arm.
Yes.
That bodes well.
Presumably one of their fellow brothers' arms.
Right. So. Welcome to the Night's Watch. Yeah. So that's that. What about Dany?
Dany, we get a few good scenes with Dany.
A few? They're all
awesome. She is almost killed. Basically, Robert had sent orders to have her executed, have her... a merchant tries to, give her a poisoned jug of wine.
Ser Jorah comes to the rescue.
Ser Jorah, hey, you drink that first. It exposes the plot. And then we've got Khal Drogo. When he learns about this, he unleashes the punishment against this poisoner. He gives Ser Jorah a nice horse for being that, and then he promises that his unborn child is going to inherit the Seven Kingdoms, and he's going to sail across the sea. This is something he didn't He didn't want to do. He had to
He didn't
talk.
care.
He didn't care. He didn't care about
Who
thrones.
cares?
He didn't
Got
care,
horses.
but now that they've tried to kill his child and his wife, he
He's
wants
ticked.
revenge.
It's
and this,
on like Donkey Kong.
And this was a great scene where he's just saying what he's going to do, and like very barbarian-like, and very, I love that scene. It was, although you have to read it's basically you're reading the words. It's just great how he's saying it off.
What did you think of the Dothraki?
I
love that they use the language like that. It's
It's
that's awesome.
Everyone else gets to speak in English, but the Dothraki have their own language, and it sets them apart.
It's awesome.
They
even have subtitles underneath, like
yeah,
you're watching a real foreign film. Like,
yeah.
oh, look what they said in Dothraki.
And
it's so funny.
And
I think it's great.
It is.
Do you like it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This was a great little scene. It really sets up now I'm waiting for them to cross the sea and just kick ass. So
Open a can of horsey whoop ass on
Yeah.
everyone.
Yes,
Burn down their stone houses.
Yes, these are now Mongol.
And their iron horses.
They are now Mongols. So yes.
Awesome. You're so pleased with it.
Yeah. So I really I really love this episode. It really I'm worried. I'm worried about Ned. So Ned. I'm worried about Ned now. He's been a main character, but man, I don't know how long he's going to last. So
I'm not going to say anything. Just keep watching the show.
And
reading the books.
And there's a lot of other characters. We don't see anything with Caitlyn, the kids.
Tyrion's out of it this time. But I mean, Jon missed several episodes, so it's kind of nice that they brought characters who were missing in action into play. And Tyrion had so much airtime that it's kind of nice to see.
Now there's still, I
else.
believe there's still 5 more episodes left in the season.
Finishes on Father's Day, June 19th.
So, okay, maybe not that many then. So it's still really interesting to. I guess there's a couple more episodes, and I'm really riveted. And
thank you for joining us for this week's recap and chit chat on Game of Thrones, and we'll be excited and ecstatic to see you next week. Thank you. Bye.